and welcome to tonight's regional news. 4 travelers from Brazil have tested positive for a new variant of the coronavirus in Japan's Tokyo. This new variant is said to be different from the strains discovered in the UK and South Africa. The new coronavirus variant is the latest new mutation of the virus discovered, according to Japan's health ministry. A ministry official said studies were underway into the efficacy of vaccines against the new variant, which differs from the highly infectious variants first found in Britain and South Africa that have driven a surge in cases. Of the 4 travelers who arrived at Tokyo's Haneda Airport on January 2, a man in his 40s had problem breathing, a woman in her 30s had a headache and a sore throat, and a man in his teens had a fever, while a woman in her teens showed no symptoms, the health ministry said. All travelers are in quarantine at Tokyo's airport. The World Health Organization (WHO) redoubled pleas for vaccine makers to provide COVID-19 shots to its COVAX program for poor nations, as an advisor said hopes of starting inoculations by February hinge on access to supplies. The COVAX facility has raised $6 billion so far and ordered 2 billion doses of the COVID-19 vaccines, with options on 1 billion more. With nations including China, the United States, Israel, and others dominating early deliveries, the WHO fears scant remaining stockpiles could leave 92 lower and lower middle-income countries out in the cold when it comes to vaccinating their medical workers in the COVAX program's initial round. I quote, "We expect and we have a strong confidence that we should be able to begin vaccinating in February in these countries, but we cannot do that on our own. We require the cooperation of vaccine manufacturers to provide deliveries to the COVAX facility," end of quote, WHO advisor Bruce Alworth said on Monday. More than 40 countries have begun vaccinating against COVID-19 with Pfizer and BioNTech, Moderna, AstraZeneca, as well as vaccines developed in Russia and China. Now in Cuba. The U.S. has placed Cuba back on a list of state sponsors of terrorism. When explaining the decision, officials cited Cuba's support of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, who the U.S. refuses to recognize. President Donald Trump's administration made the announcement just days before he leaves the White House. President-elect Joe Biden, who takes office on January 20th, has previously said he wants to improve U.S.-Cuban relations. Trump's decision is likely to hinder a quick repair of relations. Cuba's place on the list will require a formal review that could take months, analysts say. The Caribbean island was removed from the list by President Barack Obama in 2015, but Trump has taken a harder line towards the country. I quote, "With this action, we will once again hold Cuba's government accountable and send a clear message. The Castro regime must end its support for international terrorism and the subversion of U.S. justice," end of quote, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said on Monday. Cuba called the move, I quote, "political opportunism," end of quote. In response, Cuban Foreign Affairs Minister Bruno Rodriguez tweeted, I quote, "We condemn the cynical and hypocritical qualification of Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism announced by the United States," end of quote. Cuba now rejoins countries including Iran and North Korea on the list of sponsors of terrorism. The impact on the island country includes severe limits on foreign investment. And finally, journalist Abby Phillip, who was born to Trinidadian parents, has been named CNN's senior political correspondent. CNN announced Phillip's appointment on Tuesday amid several changes at the network. In addition to her new portfolio, CNN announced that she will become the anchor of Inside Politics Sunday with Abby Phillip from 8 to 9 a.m. on Sundays beginning January 24. Phillip was born in Virginia to parents June and Dr. Carlos Phillip, who are originally from Sangre Grande. Her parents migrated to the U.S. in 1985 and returned to Trinidad and Tobago in 1988 when she was just a few months old. She returned to the U.S. when she was 8 years old. Phillip was lauded for her professionalism during the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Thank you for watching tonight's regional news.